So next, discussing key organizational structures and needs, we have Carla Shatz, who is the director of BioX and a professor of biology and neurobiology at Stanford University.
Well, thank you very much. It's a really delight to be here and to participate in this very important conversation. So I just want to tell you about how we do convergence at Stanford. And we've been doing it for quite a while. I'm going to try to give you the highlights. There's lots more to learn about it if you want. The website has a huge amount of information, probably too much. So you're welcome to visit. So the mission of BioX should be extremely familiar, since we've been talking about this all morning, and Phil put it very nicely. The idea is really to cross boundaries to bring new, I guess maybe I should now use the word transdisciplinary, but I don't think I've personally become transcendent yet myself, so I'm a little nervous using it. So what is Stanford BioX? It's not a department. It's a Stanford Institute, and I want to just take a minute to tell you about these institutes at Stanford. It's one of many. It's a new one. There have been, the original ones were founded in the 1950s. Stanford has a long tradition of doing interdisciplinary, of supporting and building an infrastructure for interdisciplinary research. Ann Arvin is the Vice Provost and Dean of Research, and she's the Cognizant Dean. She's here, and she has a huge amount of experience, and we can discuss later a lot of the really important nitty-gritty details that allow these institutes to get built and thrive. Question of whether how they go away, that's a good question, and I think that we're not so sure about either, but we do have some, there are actually rules for this. So it's not a department, it's a university-wide institute. The concept of BioX was created in 1998, actually, and today we have over 600 faculty distributed across the entire university, including almost all of the schools and professional schools of the university. The concept of BioX was really it was bio plus, let X equal all of these obvious, engineering, chemistry, physics, computer science, and medicine, so this was a way of trying to really integrate and encourage people to work together. And the other idea was to mix them all together to start with in a home, so to create a physical home for BioX. This is the James H. Clark Center. There are now 44 core faculty in the Clark Center, but as I said, there are over 600 faculty all over the university. The one really wonderful advantage that BioX has is that the home of the Clark Center is really at the intersection of the science campuses at Stanford. So medicine, biology, physics, chemistry, engineering, all, and the Clark Center is literally within a 5-minute walk of many of these other buildings and other colleagues, and I do think that really helps us. So it's a hub. The Clark Center is a hub. The hub actually is really important. I highlight the most important thing in my talk, which is good food and good coffee. And this actually brings people to the building and helps them to mix, and it's just packed with people all the time. It's a gathering place for the community, but it's also a recruiting tool because many faculty want to come to Stanford thanks to BioX and the Clark Center. And the Clark Center was actually built 10 years ago. We're about to celebrate, have a big bash and celebrate the existence of the building as opposed to the program, which started earlier. And I just want to say that one of our colleagues, Manu Prakash, is here today. He is an assistant professor in bioengineering. He's in the building. He's right next to Pete's Coffee, and he's invented some really wonderful things, including a microscope that you can fold and put in your pocket. And he tells me he's brought that here. So you should ask him, Manu, I don't know where you are. Stand up so they know. He's way in the back, as always is typical of assistant professors. But anyhow, I'm glad you're here. Okay. So I want to talk, now BioX has some core programs, and I've just listed the four main programs. There's a seed grant program. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. There is a graduate fellowship program. There are what I call venture and innovation labs, and there's undergraduate summer research program. The undergraduate summer research program was created because a few years ago, an undergraduate at Stanford sent me an email asking me how could he major in BioX. And I realized, okay, there's interest here, and it's really fun. So we bring 60 students into labs all over campus to work during the summer, and there's quite a formal program for them. The fellowships and the initiative, the seed grants, all have the same theme, which is interdisciplinary, team-based research. And I'm happy to go into this later, but I think we've talked a lot about what that might look like, and that's what we support. The fellowships are very entrepreneurial. Graduate students already in programs at Stanford. We do not run a graduate program. We run a fellowship program. These students are asked to put together a team of advisors and apply for a fellowship. And it's open competition, and there's a large faculty selection committee of about 20 faculty from all disciplines who are looking at these proposals. And that is also the same for the Sea Grant program. The Ventures and Innovation Labs are ways of really rapidly moving new discoveries, technologies, and fields forward. And I think this is really important. It's let us, for example, build microfluidics facilities, build facilities for optogenetics and other imaging and other forms of imaging very quickly, make them available to the Stanford faculty and students and the world. So many of these facilities are available to you to come and learn a new technique way before you can buy it off the shelf. Let me talk about the seed grants for 1 minute. So we've had now a history of these seed grants. They are awarded every other year, and we've now made 6 rounds, so there's been 12 years of experience. These are really important. I think they're part of the real glue that's created this faculty of 600 and this kind of culture of interdisciplinary and really collaborative research across many different areas. We have a round of competition where we ask for letters of intent. We don't ask the faculty to do a huge amount, 1 page. From that, as you can see, we get about 100 or so letters of intent on average. This already involves over 250 faculty because the average team size is about 2.5 people. It's really great. And it involves many of the schools already. We then cut it to about half so we can review about 40 to 60 proposals, depends a little bit on how much money we have. And then we can make somewhere between 20 to 25 awards. Each award is about $150,000. And that's $75 a year for 2 years. That's all we give. And it's been incredibly catalytic and has led to many new things. Let me tell you how we've actually looked at and evaluated what's happened at BioX over the years. So several of our colleagues in the School of Education, Dan McFarland and Woody Powell, were asked to actually examine the scene before and after BioX. And they conducted really quite extensive surveys of faculty and looked for how they were interacting. And I'd like to show you the next slide, which I call an interactome, because it shows you an example of what happened across the university before BioX and after BioX. So the point is, before 1998, there was already a group of faculty on the campus who were interacting with each other across disciplines. It's not surprising. But what's happened is the number of interactions has become incredibly dense. The 3 colors here are 3 different departments from 3 different schools: engineering, medicine, and humanities and sciences. And we could do lots of color coding. This is based on a lot of quantitative data collection. Happy to talk about it. But I think what it shows you is that we've created a kind of a web that's a kind of horizontal web that really stretches across the university and across normal school and departmental boundaries. And this web was created really from a long-term investment in doing this kind and encouraging this kind of collaborative interdisciplinary research. And I want to talk about that a little bit more in the next few slides. So it may even be that this kind of web that's been built here may be a new model for how research universities can operate across disciplines, because it's based on the strength of departments and recruiting faculty who want to interact from individual departments into this kind of then horizontal structure, which now really exists and is very attractive, by the way, for biotech companies and other companies to come and interact with Stanford, because we know who everybody is here. So I want to just talk now a little bit again and wrap up. So the culture in 2013, as I said, there's many, many faculty from over 60 departments from 7 schools. We've now funded, because of these seed grants, about 500 interdisciplinary research teams. We've now funded 127 interdisciplinary PhDs, and we've also allowed about 170 undergraduates to experience this BioX idea. And everyone benefits. It's a really wonderful process because it's open. It's allowed Stanford, I think, to be very competitive nationally for grants. It's created new knowledge. There are hundreds of publications and patents filed. And it's created this collaborative culture where people are very willing to share and also be very creative. Amazingly, it's leveraged over 10x on the investment from the seed grants. So an initial investment, we've now followed the first 5 rounds of funding. An initial investment of about $15 million has given rise to over $170 million in external federally funded and other funded research. So I want to tell you about what's unexpected. So what was expected is that these seed grants, for instance, would give little return on high-risk projects. But as I said, there's been this tremendous leveraging of funding. So the ones that do work have really been leveraged. Of course, it was thought that BioX would be a major vehicle for translation and for interaction with biotech and so on. You know, we're in Silicon Valley after all. But what's amazing is, in addition to that, there's been what I call a creation of intellectual capital. That is, you know, fundamental new knowledge has been created, not applied yet. New knowledge at the intersection of disciplines that someday will be applied, but a lot has happened in that regard. Also, new technology to enable fundamental research. In fact, you can see a list of many of the new technologies, including the foldoscope, and Manu, as I said, is here, and new training opportunities for students. Regarding graduate training, of course, we expected we would train graduate students, but I think what we didn't really expect is that we would create a new breed of young scientists, very comfortable working at these intersections, who is just being sucked up by jobs, both in academia and in industry. These people are really desirable. So the ingredients for success that I can identify, I think there are many, are that the founding faculty were chosen for their entrepreneurial spirit and proven record of collaboration across disciplines. And that was an initial criterion and still is for being in the Clark Center, in the building itself. So this was like a nucleating group. Everyone is capable of innovation, but we needed the support at the highest levels of the university from the president and from participating deans such as Ann Arvin, because there has to be a kind of superstructure that allows this to happen so you can go across the schools and encourage people, and especially faculty. But you can't do it without strong departments and schools. They are a must. We do not hire or promote faculty, but we can incentivize departments to hire a faculty of a certain type. And there are only carrots, no sticks. So the program funds come from new sources rather than by taxing schools or departments, and that's my job, and that's not so easy, but it's fine. Lastly, I just want to say that this is a totally open process. There's no old boys club. The competitions are open at all levels. What's more, that when you get funded from BioX, you present your results. So it's not so we have many, many symposia, poster sessions over the course of the year. People share their results, and that again becomes a way of leveraging and making new collaborations. And finally, I'm just going to say that we were created 15 years ago as an experiment. We think the experiment has been a great success, and because we largely depend on the goodwill of the president of the university and the dean of research and philanthropy, we do have a problem, which is we now have to really think of how would you now legitimize and fund the program into the future. And that's a new kind of challenge, but it's a very good one to have. Thanks.